Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to another World of Warships live stream. I'm Mr. Conway, and today's a special day because not only do we have Wonder Twin number 2, Mr. Chrysanthos in the house, we have a special guest here all the way from the cold, dark northern wastes of St. Petersburg. Please welcome Sir Nelson.
Hi everyone, I'm Sir Nelson. I'm senior game designer in the balancing department, and I'm mostly responsible for the balance decisions for for the past year or something. Well, a bit less than a year. So
brave words. Yeah. So we thought we would use this opportunity that Sir Nelson is visiting us here in Prague and do a bit of an unscheduled live stream. You know, usually we're live on Thursdays, and usually this evening would have been our French community manager Tanatoy's turn to take you all out in a nice French style. But we thought this was an opportunity we didn't want to miss, and you wouldn't want to miss. We can get some nice insight behind some of the balancing changes made recently and over the past year. So that's fantastic. And of course, Chrysanthos
hiding in the back. So yes. Hey guys, yeah, I'm back from vacation. So quite easy, guys. The way it's going to work today, you basically just ask questions. We will try to get as many as possible in here to have Sir Nelson answer them, and that's it. We will have some gameplay in the background, have some fun, and that's the plan.
Yes, both Zihalis and Taki should be around and about in the chat. We are, of course, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So if you have questions, please try and formulate them as a question. You know, don't make it like a bloody paragraph. Don't, write 3 words. Why CVs suck is not a question. Write a proper question, please, at World of Warships in front or behind, so we get a notification and we can see it. And and then we'll go through your questions.
Oh, by the way, we get Idea-Anleitung in in chat. CV we met yesterday when we were playing, and he calls you a filthy CV sniper.
Yeah, he's from TWA. I don't know if you know them. He's
who is?
He's just a player, but he's from TWA, who's one of our biggest and sort of most competitive clans. We met him in Get Battle yesterday.
I know the TWA. They're
but basically, he's salty because he met us in the division yesterday. He was playing carrier, I was playing carrier, and we won.
He did get 2.4k base XP though on the losing side in a midway. So well played.
That's good, really good.
Yes. Anyway, so can you tell us a little bit about tell us a little bit about what you sort of do on a daily basis? What does a day of a game designer look like? Because I have no idea.
Basically, most of the days I spend on the analytics because the interactions of ships on different tiers in different matchmaking rules. I mean, like if you're up tiered or down tiered and all that stuff, we have to analyze and to see how ships perform in different metrics like damage, survivability, win rate, and that stuff. Then if we see some problem or just an opportunity, maybe we talk. I talk with my colleagues about some ideas, like what to implement, what's the consequences, how is it going to affect the game. After that, we just implement it in the game, basically. It's then some internal testing about is it played like we wanted to, and that sort of stuff. Also, of course, there's a lot of time discussing the new mechanics, like a lot of time went into the aircraft carriers, of course, and some other mechanical works, like the flooding changes, the radar changes, and AP versus DDs changes, all that stuff. So, like that, basically.
Wow. And see, we're sitting on the other end of the balance changes, and some things have been really good. Some things have been a bit tricky, and but I think overall things are going in a really good direction. Anyway, we have lots of questions as expected. We talked about this in
Yeah.
the kitchen first. First question, first two questions indeed are about the Giulio Cesare. Now, before we talk about the Giulio Cesare, I want to make very clear, right? And please, like, we don't just say this for the sake of saying this. This is actually the fact. When we say, like, we're going to be testing something, and it hasn't been decided, it means we are testing it, and it hasn't been decided, right? So please bear that in mind when we talk about these things. It's not as though any changes that we announce that are testing are locked in and can't be changed. Anyway, so the question is from Equilibrium Gaming, who asks, Cesare, do you really think she is the root of all balance evil? I think we should rename it to that.
I think she is somewhere down there, yes. She is an overpowered ships, basically, and I think we need to do something with it. That's basically it. Just
Could you maybe explain a bit to a player who has no clue about game balancing, how you go about? Let's take the example of Giulio Cesare.
yeah.
Like how you look at the ship and how you look at potential solutions to actually balancing it.
With Cesare, it was. I mean, first of all, we read I think some community perception about the ship. We try to analyze what people don't like maybe about the ship, and this goes on not only about the owners of the ship, but about the guys who are playing against it. Like, I mean, of course, the owners of the Cesare will be happy because it's a strong ship, but the guys on the other part is they are not happy, and we're trying to analyze that, and then statistics, of course. With Cesare, it was quite obvious that she was overperforming on tier 5, and then I just looked at her stats compared to the performance of tier 6 battleships in tier 6 games and tier 7 games, and even just like with no change, without any changes. She was the best.
So you're saying
in terms
she was...
of dealing relative damage to the ships in tier 6 and tier 7 battles. Yeah, so I'm saying in that battles she's better than any tier 6 battleship.
Okay, so that's so can I follow up? This is not a question from chat. So why? So there was a lot of community feedback already around this announced test of a change. And a lot of it centered around the fact that some people don't want to play versus tier 8 and in tier 8 matchmaking, because obviously you're going to see a whole different load of ships, and gameplay wise, I guess the stress level rises a bit. But so why would you change the tier rather than taking Cesare and just nerfing her?
Mostly because the Cesare is at such a power level that we would have to nerf it super significantly for it to be like a normal tier 5 battleship. And that's why we decided to move it a tier up with saving her unique things like traits, like very good gun accuracy and stealth and maneuverability. That was the idea.
Yeah, I guess like to make her fit a tier 5, she would have to be changed. Like the gameplay, she would feel different, right?
Yes, of course. I mean, the problem is basically you will have the other ship on tier 5. It won't be the Cesare you all know. Like, so we just try to move it so the ship won't feel itself different, just the surroundings will be different, and we want to test that, how that feel.
Yeah. So like we said, this is a change very much in testing, and it is yet to be determined whether or not it happens. But there's a follow-up question on this from TPackTop2. He asks, does it really make sense to do the testing right now with the meta being in so much flux and with the changes coming in from the CV rework?
The Cesare is not that particularly an AA ship, so the balance changes to the AA power is well, it does not affect that much the Cesare, so I think it's fine. It's fine right now.
Okay.
But of course, I mean, also we have to remember that the testing period is not like a week or two; it's several months. Well, just I think by that time the meta of the new carriers will settle somehow.
Yeah, guys, you have to realize this is not something that's going to be happening next week where we say, hey, we've tested it, we're rolling it out now. That's not how it works. But there's a little follow-up that I want to move in from Pyrules, who's saying, but is this judged only on damage, or do you look at other metrics as well when you determine this, like average XP or average win rate, which he thinks are more relevant stats?
The average win rate heavily depends. Well, I mean, you can compare really the win rates between tiers, because we have the matchmaking, the tiered matchmaking, where we try to match same tier ships of same class. That's why I mean, moving up a tier, I can compare win rate between the Cesare and like tier 6 battleship. That's why we compare the relative damage. That counts for Cesare, for the battleships. It works good because most of the like combat effectiveness of the battleships come from dealing damage, as of course as well as receiving, and the Cesare was on top in like what you can call it the damage delta. I mean, the difference in relative damage done and relative damage received. So it was like the prime metrics maybe.
Okay, can you actually explain what relative damage is?
Relative damage is the percentage of the health pool that you like, take off a ship when you fire. Like, for example, from 10,000k health, if you take 2,000, then it will be 20 percentage in relative damage.
Okay, so basically the number, takes into account the hit points of the ships that you're shooting at. So
yes, of course.
Okay, cool.
Because, well, yeah, basically just the damage number doesn't work in our game because of the difference in HP pool between classes.
Okay. Okay, so guys, I know I saw a few more questions about Giulio Cesare, but like as we said, this is really something that we're testing, right? And part of this test is obviously also, like what you guys think of this, and your feedback will of course be taken into account. So hold your horses for now. Let's talk about some other things. Next question is from Isamu Kudera, who says, Sir Nelson, can you perhaps say if the upcoming destroyer Yuudachi will have normal or deep water torpedoes?
I don't think we announce such things such early. At this point,
we can talk about it.
We will see. It has yet to be determined. What would you like it to be?
maybe in context with that, because that's one of the things I wanted to highlight. Because, for example, the Giulio Cesare change that we talked about, that was posted on a development blog, and I'm sure either Taki or Mr. Sihales are going to post the link in chat for those who don't know that platform. But this is where we post intended changes or things that we are testing. So all of these information that you will see there, the same thing is true, for example, for a ship like the Yuudachi. That's preliminary info that is always subject to change. So please always keep this in mind. We try to be as transparent as possible. We try to give you information as early as possible so you know what we're working on, but you have to take it with a grain of salt. That these are things that we want you to know about, and we are considering, and we are testing. We want to get your feedback, but it's no reason to panic or to see the end of the world coming because we posted something on the dev blog. It's just things that we consider for development and are planning to do.
Cool. Next question from Ken Lero on YouTube. Are there any current plans to make CV matchmaking +1, -1?
No, there are no plans for that. And also, we can't make it -1, only +1. I mean, the idea of matchmaking is it we are saying in what tiers of battles the ship can be put at. So it means that if any tier 6 can be in a tier 8 battle, yeah, so we can't make it -1 basically, because any tier 6 can do that. So just a little.
Okay, but I guess the reason that this question is being asked is because there's currently, like some players are currently struggling with the sort of relative difference of AA power when it comes to tiers. Like being a tier 6 carrier fighting tier 8 ships, or tier 8 carrier fighting tier 10 ships. Is there something, is there anything we're planning to do to address this? Or is it fine as it is? I mean, I think what is lacking sort of a bit of a background perspective on this aspect.
Actually, I've checked the stats, and again, speaking in terms of relative damage, in tier 10 battles, like tier 8 CVs as a class, they deal almost as much as battleships, tier 8 battleships. I understand why our players struggle with it, because it's a bit tier 10 matchmaking in tier 8 CV is more, I don't know. You really need to change your playstyle when you're in a tier 10 match in your CV, and that's a bit different. When we're talking, for example, about the DDs, when they basically tier 8 DDs do the same stuff as the tier 10s, they make it worse than tier 10s. But with the CV, you even more than in tier 8 matches, you have to think about what target you choose, because you can deal damage to lonely targets. I mean, of course, it's more painful than to deal it to tier the same tier target, but it's possible. So, although we are thinking about ways to maybe ease the pain of it, because with CVs, when you're just when you see that your plane just melt, it's a bit too painful maybe. But we don't have any good solution right now, and also the stats show that it's possible to play it, and it's actually fine. So I'm not sure.
Okay, there were some comments on, of course, because it's Twitch chat. Twitch chat being Twitch chat. Do you even play a game? How many games do you play roughly, sort of in a week? Give us an estimate, because I'm sure it is.
I mean, on the live server, not so much, because I always play on my local server when I test some stuff, and that's it. I don't know. I guess it goes from 20 to 50-ish battles a week. I'm not sure. I don't count it, because a lot of my battles are in Excel.
Okay. Yeah, the answer is yes. So let's move on. Chrysanthos, do you actually, let's mix this up a little bit, right? Because everybody seems to be struggling with them. Let me join the struggle. I'm gonna go play as some tier 8 carriers. Because actually I'm really enjoying the rework and I'm having fun. Don't lynch me for it. And Chrysanthos can take over the question asking. Can you?
Yes,
you can. Yes, he can. So
Obviously.
we're gonna go to port, and you can keep listening, but I'm gonna go and fail a bit in the background.
Yeah. So we have a question from Eliestian on Twitch, and he's asking a question about the IGN torps, the 2 torp setups. If they needed to be nerfed, why was the target of the nerf the quality of life aspect? Basically, aiming characteristics, making them enjoyable to use rather than power, like the actual damage or plane survivability, squadron size.
Well, because the quality of life of IGN torps were a bit too much, in our opinion. When you need to like press a button in at some time, and then you have like a whole, I guess it's 8 or to 10 seconds where your reticle just doesn't expand whatever you do. So we wanted to change it a bit, so they're still more comfortable than let's say USN torps, but at the same time the target, if he's making maneuvers or something like that, then you'll have a more hard time to deal with it, damage with these torps. As for the plane, HP IGN already has the least plane HP on their torp bombers. So, yes.
Okay. Yeah, we have a question from Abomination, and he's asking, it's a more of like a higher level question. What is the intended role of CVs when it comes to interclass balance? What is their purpose? What is the basic idea of where CVs fit in our 4 classes?
Basically, right now the CVs are like they can deal damage to any class, but I can't say that they are like the best at dealing damage to any class. Like the cruisers are still better at dealing with the DDs, and DDs are better at dealing with battleships, but the CV can do any of it. So it's kind of a universal soldier in that sense, as well as the scout. I mean, of course, it by itself provides a lot of information. I mean,
okay, that's a very long question. Varzul is asking, can we expect a rebuff for Hakuryu torp bombers torpedo speed back to original value of the 4-drop value in the next quick update? Because currently with their 40 knots, their torps are way too slow.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah. So guys, please keep in mind that the update isn't too old, and we're trying to be as quick as possible when it comes to balance changes, but we still need time to collect as much data as possible to take a look at how things are working and where if we want to do anything that comes to like adjusting, where we would do this, because it's not that easy to just pick something and tweak it, right?
Yeah. I mean, no.
It is.
It is.
Of course, breaking it. Okay. Then we have the question from Joanna Meyer on Twitch. Do you have any plans in the work to relieve the suffering of DDs beyond the rather conservative radar change?
We're actually thinking about it, and we have some ideas, but I'm not sure I can share them right now. But we're definitely looking for some like ideas and maybe changes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Oh, okay. So we have a question from YouTube from Crizo, and he's asking, is there any chance to see a different kind of ammo, like SAP ammo for Italian ships?
I don't think so, because the ammo types are they are good, that they are like very different. The HE is like for stable damage and dot damage, and the AP is like the alpha, and it's a clear distinction. Making is like SAP would be somewhere like in between, I guess. It would have like not a very good fire chance and not a great like armor piercing capabilities, and it will blur the line beyond the point where we want it to be. So you have a clear well, I mean, you know what to do against like AP, and you know what to do against HE. You rely on armor, you rely on like minimizing your like, profile, and that works. And SAP for now, I don't think so, but it's possible.
Yeah, like we love to say never, but
Yeah.
for now we're not planning with
Yeah.
it. Elias has a question from Facebook, and he's asking, I think this is related to the CV rework, how many months do you think the balancing will take to be in, let's say, a good position? Will it reach a year as community contributors said?
I hope that it will be a lot less. We're hoping for like several months of balancing changes.
Maybe as a follow-up question from my side, because we have this with basically any release of a new ship or a new tech tree line, right? From a statistics point of view, how long does it take you to gather enough stats and for stats to actually even out to show a, let's say, realistic picture of the meta and how the ships are performing in it?
It depends on the ship or line itself, because but in most cases I think it's several months, like 2, 3, 4, I would say. But some ships, they just they have like special audience, and so we have to think about it also as well.
Yes, because you have to keep in mind that ships, whenever they get released, they're new. You don't know how to play against them. You don't know how to play them yet.
Yes.
And it will just take some time until basically people know how to play them, play against them, and until the meta is also representative. Magister Magi on YouTube is asking, are you still looking at the premium CVs? At the moment, none of them feel worth it anymore, and normally premiums get changed very rarely.
Well, of course, we're looking at them, but to be honest, from the stats point of view, I think they are in a good state. That's, I mean, we can say more like when time comes, because right now we're more focused on the general AA, like ideas or balancing, and then we can get back to individual ships balancing as well as premium CVs.
Hey guys, and this is also where you come in, because we can take a look at stats, but when it comes to playing a ship and how much fun it is for you to actually play that ship, this is where you have to give us feedback. So please make sure that if you feel like certain ships are not fun to play, or there's certain aspects of the game that you struggle with, that you post it somewhere where we can read it. So go to the forums, go to social media pages, talk to your contributors. It's the best way of letting us know that maybe a ship is performing well when it comes to sets, but it's not really fun for you to play. Tell us. So because that way we can forward it to developers and they can look into it, how to maybe address it. So please make sure that if you feel this way that you drop that opinion somewhere. There is nothing to see on Twitch is asking, how do you define overpowered? What are the traits to be fulfilled to be considered as overpowered?
Good question.
Yeah. Mostly we look at win rate, with of course always keeping in mind the structure of the group of the owners, like what's the power level, let's say, of this group. And after that we compare the stats, win rate as well, and the damage, the relative damage, survivability, and all other things like kill death ratio. And with the ships in the same class tier, and well, most likely even with the same owners, same people, so that the distribution of people is the same. Yeah, and when if we see that this ship is like significantly above everybody else, then in his group, then it's overpowered. I don't think I can say definitive metrics like say 2% win rate or something like that, because the average stats are not always telling the whole picture. That's why we're trying to look at the distribution of the stats of players. I mean, yes, that's it.
Yes, I mean, to probably give you an example is if you take a look at ships that would be identical, but one ship would be a premium ship. I think, for example, Omaha Hull cruisers would be a good example, that ships that might even have same stats perform differently because different people are playing them at a different level or with a different commander, for example. Yeah, Scalzam on Twitch is asking, a while ago it was mentioned that cruisers might be getting increased armor plating. Is that still work in progress?
Yes, it is. I can't say more, but we didn't disband this idea. Yes.
I think we talked about it in the not how it works in the Waterline.
In Waterline series.
About basically plans for cruisers, right? How to split them up more in heavy and light cruisers.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is still internally discussed, but thing is, there's lots of focus on the severe work, so we just don't want to rush the change with the cruisers.
Yeah, so first things first, guys. Question from Scotty G on Twitch. How are you guys dealing with DDs and how they are getting zoned out hard by CVs? People are starting to stop playing the class altogether.
Are they stopping to play the class altogether?
Overall, well, there is some drop in popularity in higher level DDs, but it's a bit more than on the other classes, because of course every class suffered from the CV. I mean, suffered in a way that the popularity switches. Like some players just went to look at the new CVs. But I think the DD players are now getting back. The DD population is getting back to the old values. But I think question about the DDs were already answered, that we're looking at this and we'll try to get back at you.
Also keep in mind that right now a lot of people are trying out CVs. So the amount of players in the queue who are trying to play CVs is much higher than they are probably going to level out to at a certain point in time. So right now you see way more CVs, and I think we also posted this on the development blog when we addressed some of the concerns about the CV rework, is that like our ideal, let's say, CV population per match would be one on each side, right? So with that, a DD knows how to deal with one CV. Having more CVs is obviously trickier because you have to deal with several targets in the sky. Well, this is a question that we get a lot. Maybe you have an update about this, but we talked about this already like 3 weeks ago, I think. Joskun on Facebook is asking, how about dealing with tier 6 and tier 8 matchmaking? These two tiers keep getting the worst matches most of the time.
Is it in general?
It's a general question. Like, are we planning maybe any additional steps to help specifically tier 6 and tier 8 matchmaking, because they get up tiered more frequently than other tiers?
I don't actually think so. That we're planning to do something with that at this point, but of course we can take a look. And we're doing something with the matchmaking, as you know, like in update in the last update, couple of days before the new year, we try to ease the we try to lessen the amount of battles that you get to up tier. So we're looking at it from more of a matchmaking point of view, I think.
Okay. Kaze Amaru on Twitch is asking, removing the odd CVs was done as making it easier for balancing. Now we see it is not balanced at all. As tier 6 CVs get ripped apart easily by tier 7 and tier 8, same for tier 8 and tier 10 games, wouldn't it have been smarter to keep all the CVs then? It's a tricky question. Odd tiered CVs. Any chance for them to come back, or?
They can come back, but not in the form of tier CVs. If they come back and we're thinking about how to bring them back, they will come back as an even tier CVs. So they'll just I think we already announced that we are thinking about how to use them and give players another type of gameplay on these CVs, but they will be in follow the same path of even tier CVs. Like it will be another branch.
Yeah, and guys, also keep in mind that it's not like if there's any issue with the strength of AA, that the reason for that would be the removal of odd tiered CVs. But the problem would be with the actual AA values. And this is something we're looking into right now. I mean, this is the tricky part about the CV work, getting all of these factors, like the damage potential of a CV and the AA strength of ships, into a balance where this is all working out nicely. And this is something we have to do on the live server, because that's where we get all of the stats, how the actual game looks like in the real environment. So we're doing our best to look at the AA values and balancing them. We already had 2 hot fixes to address AA issues, and I'm sure we're going to have more of it when we have more data and need to do some additional fine-tuning. Sonny Psycho on Twitch is asking, did you see any problem with overspotting in CV's gameplay? If yes, what will be your solution to this problem? So I guess he's not talking about the old CV gameplay, but the new one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's quite obvious that comparing one CV, well, the old CV is one old CV to the one new CV, the spotting has there's less spotting basically, but we're thinking about it. Same, like, I guess it's the same answer as for DDs. We're thinking about it. We're looking into the ways to somehow maybe ease it, but overall the CVs will remain the most spotting class, I think, simply because they have so much speed on their groups. They can spot ships, and yeah, so they'll be very good at spotting.
Is there, like, this is a comment I've seen, feedback I've seen from quite a few players, that especially the early spotting can be very frustrating because it takes away a lot of the, like before the CV update. Well, not in every game, right? There's always a lot of mystery around what the enemy team is doing. Which flank are they going? Are they pushing left? Are they pushing right? And is there any thought of maybe giving CVs an initial delay? Giving them, I don't know, 45 seconds, a minute until they can launch the first flight, to like take some of that early spotting up and let the positioning play a bit more of a role and let the DDs get a bit more comfortable.
We're thinking about it, but to be honest, right now it looks a bit painful for a CV player. So he will just he will need to just sit and do nothing, and also it feels a bit, and not a bit. It feels very mechanical in a way. So Although in most games, in every other class, you're like 1 or 2 minutes first in the match. You don't do much. You just like sail somewhere. But it's reasonable. You choose a direction. You want to go there. You think about it, and that's fine. But with CVs, it's not the point. You have your planes. They can get up and fly. So making some just timer that says no, you can't do that. It feels a bit too mechanical, but we're not disregarding that idea, and maybe we'll find some more elegant solution for now.
Okay. Doc Ace is asking, sorry if this has been asked already, but was it intended that RPF works from aircraft?
Yes, it was intended. Although I think we'll probably remove it from the aircraft. It's possible. It's highly possible.
Okay, thank you. Oh wait, there's a question coming in live that ties into the previous one. Steve B. Dancer is asking, BBs do nothing for 30 seconds at the start of the match. DDs have to wait up to 2 minutes before the torpedoes are ready. So why are CVs different?
That's a good question. You heard it here first. CVDs can now talk from the beginning of the match. No.
I mean, even if you could torp from the beginning of the match, you could only torp your teammates.
So thank God that's not possible.
That is like honestly, for many people, this is a valid strategy.
I'm sure there would be enough torpedoes in the water in second 2.
Where are you?
Yeah. So is there? Do you see any difference from a gameplay point of view, just from a DD or let's say a cruiser or even a battleship, having let's say the experience of the first minute compared to a CV?
Look, as I said, it mostly reveals around the fact that you actually in your first minutes or so in any class, you can do something. You can decide a flank. You can decide a direction where you're going. You can think about your battle plan. On the CV, it's not that much of a deal, because on the CV you have to adjust your battle plan much more frequently than on any other class. So basically we'll just rip off like first minutes maybe or seconds of gameplay from the players. That's what's different, because like in other classes, your battle plan, well, you think about it in the beginning and then you implement it. Yeah, of course there are changes. Of course, nobody's arguing with that. But overall, the decision you make in the first minutes on other classes affects your whole game more than on the CVs, and that's why we can't say that it's the same.
Yeah. You also have to keep in mind that if you talk about new CVs and the new gameplay, is the way you play your CV is that it's not that much about the ship, it's about your squadron, and your positioning is done with your squadron. You move the ship to a certain point on the map to be able to launch your planes and to maybe have a shorter flight time towards the enemy, but your positioning with the CV is not as important as with other ships. So the focus of a CV player would be if he wants to get into the battle with the planes, because that's where his action is at. compared to like a DD, for example, that has to decide in the first minute where he wants to go, what kind of cap he wants to address first. But then again, that's also like the crux then, because for the DD, the early spotting is so painful. So it's a tricky topic, as you guys can see. So we are looking into what we can do, but it's not that easy. So moving away from this, it's related to CV, so I'm going to take this one. General question from YouTube is, any comments on tier 8 CVs versus tier 10 AA balance?
I think I already answered about it in the question about up tiering. No,
I think
Anyway.
we
Yeah,
talked
but
about
can
it
you just
briefly in the beginning.
quickly recap
Yeah.
for those who, because we might have some viewers who tuned in later.
Yeah, that's true. We're looking at how maybe there are ways to make it a bit less painful, but painful not in like from the stats perspective, but from the player perspective, because stats-wise, CVs in up tier look fine, and fine as in they deal a lot of damage, relative again. And of course, the spotting, they're still very good at spotting, even in the up-tiered matches. But we understand that sometimes it's a bit too painful in tier 10 matches, or in up-tiered matches in CVs, and maybe we can find a way to make it a bit less painful from the gameplay experience, but not from the stats. I mean, it's a bit tricky thing to do, because we can't just buff the CVs because they'll overperform in the up-tiered matches compared to other classes. But at the same time, we have to do something with the with it.
Okay, thank you. Chriso again from YouTube is asking, won't the Viribus Unitas, so moving away from the CVs for a minute, suffer from slow speed and poor A on tier 5? And he's asking, will it receive a reload booster?
Reload booster
I guess
on
he
a
wants
tier 5 BB.
he likes his
Why not?
very, very strong cook ship.
I mean,
No, but moving Viribus Unitas from tier 4 to tier 5 is something we're testing right now, right?
yes, of course.
So do you think that she needs any changes right now? Because he's pointing out the slow speed and the poor A, which might be a bit more painful on tier 5 than it is on tier 4.
Yes, it indeed has. It basically doesn't have any A. That's why in the last balancing changes made to her yesterday, I think, we changed the amount of damage that it can heal from the citadel damage. That means that if the Viribus Unitas gets damage from some torpedoes or AP bombers, it will heal more than other battleships. That's our way of dealing with that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And Pyrolls from Twitch is asking, do you think the Exeter was performing too good since you took out its smoke and a big chunk of its firepower?
If we thought otherwise, and
I know it's an obvious question, but it's an easy one to answer for you.
yes, of course, it was overperforming. Well, I mean, basically, if you compare it to Furutaka, with her 2 or 3 millimeter guns, the Exeter will have the same reload as it is, and a heal. So, as well as a bit better concealment. So we think that in her current state, she will do good.
And guys, once more.
But of course, that's testing.
Exactly. That's just something I really want to highlight. all of these things, you can see that when we announce a ship early on and we do changes, is we're playing around with the values to find the best possible balance for that ship, and only when we're done with it, that's the final state. So please keep that in mind. Always feel free to share your opinion about the changes you see and how you think it might impact it. But overall, please keep in mind, these are changes that are in test and for a ship that is still in testing. I have a question from Rusher's Body about CVs. Already now, good CV players say that flag bubbles are super easy to dodge. Are there plans to change the interaction between player-controlled AA and planes? Especially with the feedback from contributors like iChase in mind, where he states that more interaction is needed.
In regards to like players by themselves, working with on AA, it's like manual AA or something like that. It's we feel that this will be a bit too much, because you have to always think about the ships that are targeting you, because you're spotted. Obviously, if you are being attacked by a plane, you're spotted, and as well as think about how to manage the aircraft carrier, if we are saying about like any kind of really manual AA. But also the explosions, they were designed to be avoidable, because if they would be unavoidable, that it would be just the regular DPS damage, just with like this shiny explosions. And so we think that that's what creates the gameplay. Yeah, if you can avoid the explosions, then flag explosions, then you're good. And if not, then we're trying to make it so that they don't punish as much as they punished just when the release of the 8.0 came to life.
Okay, thank you. There's a follow-up question on the Exeter. Has there been any thought of up-tiering Exeter to tier 6, given its role in the Battle of the River Plate with other tier 6 ships?
Historical balancing.
To be honest, no, because her armor level is perfect, like for tier 5, and moving it, well, I mean, it's not perfect, it's with the heal, it should work on tier 5, but on tier 6 it would be we believe too painful to play. It's mostly because of her armor scheme.
Okay, thank you very much. That was a really, really nice drop, Mr. Conway.
I try. Against the tier 9 cruiser, not tier 10.
I see a question here that we kind of answered earlier, but I'll still just summarize for Sonny Psycho. Do you see any problems with overspotting CV gameplay? If yes, what solution to this problem? If there's one CV, that shouldn't be a problem. One CV in the new gameplay has way less spotting power than in the old gameplay, because it's only one squadron. But we're looking into helping DDs in general. Pale Spider is asking on Twitch, do you see any problems with low tier CVs and some of the ships they are matched against with not having any AA at all? I hope he's not referring to the Arkansas beta.
I mean, it's like even on higher tiers, you have some ships that have a lot less AA than others, and just, yeah, I mean, I understand that in the lower tiers it goes to extreme of not having AA at all, but overall I think we'll look at the stats of the ships after the CV rework, of course, and if there's some individual balancing will be needed, then we'll of course do it. It's obvious that the severe work and the CVs in general now affects the power of the ship and a lot. So if the ships without the EA will underperform like by much, then we'll see what we can do.
Indeed. Also keep in mind that, I mean, we had tier 4 CVs before the rework. It's not like we suddenly introduced tier 4 CVs, and ships who have a very low AA rating, that's part of their balancing. For example, Arkansas Beta, I can give you as an example. It's a very good example of a very, very powerful ship.
Nikolai.
Or Nikolai. Ships that do not really suffer that much. But the lack of AA is part of their balancing aspect, of having that weakness that they might be strong in other departments, but AA is one of their weaknesses. But we'll look into it and see if there need to be any changes. Rail Pana is asking on Facebook, can we use our fighters to dogfights? And we are the ones controlling it, not by pressing the letter T. So are we going to change our stance on fighters being consumables, or
not in the near future?
Okay. Andreas Müller. I guess he's German.
Really? How?
just a guess as a German. Is asking any quality of life. I guess changes planned for USCV torpedoes. They are so slow that you are forced to use a skill to make them hit more than battleships.
They were designed mostly to deal with battleships, and as well, when we're talking about the USCVs, they have like quite easy bombs. So when you're dealing damage with bombs, it's easier than on the IGN CVs, and as well as their rockets are more important, and so being their rockets is like the easiest way to deal damage. I think we are like in the right spots in terms of difficulty balance on USN CVs right now.
Shame, Luke. Shame.
I know.
Yeah. So working as intended. The next question is from Abomination. So CVs are the best source of intel and deal as much damage as battleships, roughly. Don't you think that's a bit too much? And don't you think that they hard counter stealth-based classes too much?
For now, I think we'll just we'll need to see what classes and ships exactly they're dealing that much damage to define whether that's acceptable for us or no. But I mean, I think we'll get to that in some time.
So, guys, checking it. Give us some time.
Yeah.
Such a. I mean, you know how impactful the CV work is in general for the game. So, give us some time to look into it and then make some follow-up decisions about this. Dieter zur Weme is asking about what could a CV do versus a Minotaur that mid-range kill every second plane with their DPS?
That's a nice question. I think you can try with the long drops from the torpedo bombers or rockets, maybe.
In my experience, you can get one strike into Minotaur if you really want to, if you really need to, but you're going to pay with your squadron. There's just currently there's no exit strategy. But you're asking, how can I strike the most powerful anti-aircraft cruiser in the game with aircraft? It's like, how do I get a good analogy? It's like, how do I, kill Yamato using my Shimakaze, but no torpedoes. It's doable, but it'll take a lot of time and it'll probably be painful. So I would recommend pick your targets more wisely. And if you are the last CV against the last Minotaur, odds are you're shit out of luck and you're going to lose the game. It's, that's one of those things, but that's the same for any other class. Some things just hard counter other things. You don't want to be stuck in a DD versus a Minotaur at the end of the game either. It's going to hunt you, it's going to find you, and it's going to kill you. It has a particular set of skills.
Yeah, and this is also
same as you don't want to be in a Minotaur against like a Des Moines, I think.
Yeah, it really depends. In general, I mean, this is where the game with different nations, different flavors, different strengths and weaknesses. This is a situation that you also know in advance that if you're a CV fighting something like an AA built Minotaur or Minotaur in general, is probably not your favorite target to go for. So this is also where communication is really crucial in your team, that you can tell your team is like, hey, I'm going to go for this and this and this target because they're easy targets for me, or they're important because, for example, going for DDD to get the objective early on. But if you want me to help on that specific area, I need you to focus that Minotaur. So this is where, in a game with different classes and different ships that have different strengths, you need to have communication to be able to deal with the wide variety of situations that you somehow need to deal with. So not every ship is equally equipped to deal with any other ship. So try to work as a team and help each other. And if you know that the Minotaur is going to be a big problem for you, try to ask your team for help.
Ooh, that hurt. I feel a little bit bad for that Kagero just now because I honestly wasn't even intending to attack him, but then he used his smoke screen and beached. So, you take what you can get.
Brian Lowe from Facebook is asking, any chance for special bombs for taking out AA and Torp and secondary modules in the future?
They are called HE bombs? No.
So do we have any plans for special kind of ammos for CVs?
I don't think so, to be honest. Right now we're we have the HE bombs and AP bombs, and for now I think that's all we need. But of course everything can change, and there are a lot of nice ideas in the aircraft history.
Okay. Maybe Luke didn't pay attention to what you would do.
I haven't either.
So Joanna Mai is asking, in the example you're playing right now, you've torped 2 people before they left the spawn point of the map.
Okay, so first of all, right, I just have to say, yes, that is true, technically, right? But one of them was beached and the other one was stationary, right? So, I mean, like, if you're going to be stupid, you're going to get struck by someone. That's life. Both of those players could have avoided / mitigated the strikes on them by paying attention.
Okay, there we go.
And I just lost all my planes.
Glorgy is asking, would it be possible to rework CV spotting on the same lines as the radar, so that other ships only see the enemy after, let's say, 6 to 8 seconds, as the planes would have to report back to the CV, and then the CV reports to the team, basically building the line of information, instead of being immediate for all ships?
That is a possibility, of course, but I actually don't think that it will change a lot of things. Like, basically because when you're playing like DD or cruiser, when you are not dealing with the stealth build Hakuru, you spot planes like maybe a bit even earlier than they spot you. So you almost have that advantage that we've given to our DD players with the radar change. So I mean, with the radar change, these 6 seconds, they're designed to give the ability, well, to basically to DDs and smoke cruisers the ability to counterplay, because otherwise they'll just the second like a radar cruiser pushed the button, that's the second the smoked DD or not smoked DD is spotted to the whole team. But with the CVs, I mean, you can see that the planes are coming, so you already can try to maneuver your way out of the possible salvos from the other team. So this concrete idea, I don't think will help a lot in terms of the whole spotting thing.
Okay, thank you. You also keep in mind that radar is a consumable that is time-based, so that the 6 to 8 seconds make a huge difference there. Dustin Spiegel is asking, any word on an update for carriers being implemented again into operations so we can play them all again?
I actually don't know.
Me neither. I'm sorry. We'll check if we can find an update for you, and we'll share it with you the next time. Key was asking a question. I think I can answer it. If I'm wrong, let me know. Will you plan to increase the rewards of up-tiered CVs, spotting damage, and damage? In general, you do get a bonus for applying damage to higher tier ships. You get a better multiplier for this. But are we planning anything to increase that for CVs in particular?
I think regarding the economy of the new CVs, it can and might be tweaked, but it will be tweaked only when the balancing is settled.
Yeah, because Key was saying he finds it difficult to do something else than spotting and DD hunting in tier 8 matchmaking with the tier 6 CB. So that's also a bit more, I mean, I understand where it's coming from, but we're still working on the AA values. So if you feel like you cannot really do that much with a tier 6 CB in a tier 8 matchmaking, that's because you run into a lot of trouble going into the AA, right? And maybe picking the wrong targets. So I guess changing the economy for spotting and damage is probably not going to be the best way of doing it, but actually looking at the AA. Anthony Natalizio is asking on Facebook, are you the Tsar of balance changes, or are the decisions made by a committee?
What?
So basically, do you have the final call when it comes to balance decisions, or like how can a player imagine
boss?
Like how do you decide to do a balance change? Let's say Giulio Cesare, the change that we're testing. Who decided it? Is it just you sitting in your chamber and typing it in and posting it on Facebook, or how can a player imagine that decision process being made?
So as I've said, well, it's the final decision is mine, but I don't do it like okay, I think that's the best decision, and I don't want to hear what my colleagues are trying to say, and the colleagues what I'm referring is they're game designers as well as the GPI guys who are telling us the community feedback. So when it comes to like testing process of the new ships, we of course look as well as to the feedback of our testers. So we combine all these things, and that's how the decision is made. Basically, we see like, okay, like the community perception is not good for that ship. What's going to do? Then we think about the change. We discuss it. We maybe implement it internally and test it, and then look at it. And yes, then if it's the right decision, we do it on live server, and it's the call that I make.
So we still blame you for touching our glorious Hindenburg.
Can I have my second back, please?
Make Hindenburg great again, please. Or
Like, it's fine.
Reload fasting.
It's fine if you leave it for the rest of the players. But
can we have a twin version, like a twin
Can I-
Hindenburg?
I would like a premium Hindenburg.
No. What I really want to have back is my old Tier 6, old Shell Arcs, old AFT, old BFT Cleveland.
Yeah, can't we have like a premium Cleveland?
No,
Tier 8, please?
if we were picking, I would pick Mogami. Tier 8 with the 155s and AFT. It was just glorious.
And Invisifire?
Yes.
That was dirty.
Oh,
that was
yeah.
really dirty back in the day. But I enjoyed it too, I have to admit.
Yeah.
I also have to say, like, my Invisifiers are... the amount of salt I found using that thing.
I did it in the biscuit.
Yeah.
Next question is from Yura regarding a ship. Oh, it's a good question. Yu Yang is widely regarded as over-nerfed. And with the coming nerf to team play with Raider, do you plan to do anything about making her relevant again? So are we happy with how Yu Yang is right now after the changes?
Yes. The nerf to the Yang was just the right amount, but with the CV meta as well as the Raider changes, we will of course look close to the Yu Yang because it doesn't have any AA power, and as well her performance, the Raider changes will affect her performance in some way. So I think we'll look at it very closely for this few months. But before the 8.0, it was like in the exact spot that we wanted her to be. She has her strengths and she has her weaknesses. Overall, her effectiveness as well as like damage, it became average. Not the best, not the worst, but just average.
Okay. FX on Twitch is asking a very specific question. Maybe you can answer it. Is the 561 kilogram shell being considered for Yoshino? He's really looking forward to both the Asuma and the Yoshino, but currently he's a little bit worried that they don't really have enough distinction between them.
500.
So does it have different ammo?
I don't think so, because they have the same guns. And the shell that we have, well, we calculated the shell and we came up with that exact amount of the charges and the weight of the shell. So.
Okay, thank you. So not for now, FX, not for now. Abomination again is asking, do you think that CVs overall improve most players' experience? And do you agree that CVs promote lemming trains and passivity? So do we see a change in player behavior with the new CV rework?
I mean, for now, yes, of course. Because that's like people, like for a long time, we didn't have lots of CVs in games. And so our assumption is that a lot of people just kind of forgot how it is to play with them. But we're working on the, so to say, the blobbing problem. So at this point, I can't say much more in terms of gameplay experience, because some things we're trying to ways to fix, and some things are just like they're the consequence of the completely new meta, new class. Telling about the gameplay experience, we will be able only in some time when the meta becomes stable, more stable than it is right now.
Okay. I have so many questions. Marzol is asking a question about the Prinz Eitel Friedrich.
Oh.
Can we expect improvements on the Prinz Eitel Friedrich anytime soon, considering it's been out for 3 months roughly and played a lot across the board? Do we plan to buff it?
No. It is actually a very good ship. Oh, not. Well, I mean, yeah, it's a comfortable ship. It has very decent armor, and her guns are really good against cruisers. So,
yeah, he's mentioning that he says he can see that it's underperforming for its tier, but that's not actually true. At least from the stats that I've seen. And
no.
Right. Yeah, I mean the one thing that I read a lot, also in particular from the German forums, is that the one thing that players found, let's say, frustrating, is the accuracy of the Prinz Eitel Friedrich.
It has the best accuracy settings on the whole line. I mean, it has. I think it's either a 1.9 or 2.0 sigma, and the default accuracy ellipse characteristics. So, and the whole line has 1.8 sigma. So it's comparing to other German battleships. I think it's just better.
Okay, thank you.
Can we have a moment of appreciation for my squadron?
Yeah,
The skins,
just
these skins are now utterly fantastic.
Oh, I haven't played this yet. I need to take it out.
No, because I just saw in chat someone was saying, "Oh, he's only playing the OP premium CVs," which, as a matter of fact, are they OP at the moment? The premium CVs?
Just like a couple questions earlier, there was a claim that they're underpowered. So
Yeah, like it's. So I don't think they're OP. The reason I wasn't playing Tech Tree tier 8 CV is because I hadn't bought one because I have the premiums. And but you know, your wish is my command, and here we go. Shokaku tier 10 match. Let's see how much I'm gonna cry.
I have an interesting question here from Lewis Gibson. I guess more players have it from Facebook, and he's asking why did we take away the ability for planes to spot torpedoes?
well, of course, in most parts it was to help the DDs.
There you go.
So that there will be no accidental spotting of torpedoes, because like with the new CVs there will be a lot of movement and of course a lot of spotting if they could do it. So it's to help the DDs.
Okay. Just trying to find a little bit different questions. Okay. Allied Winter is asking, regarding the flooding change, will Alaska and Azuma have the same flooding coefficient as Kronstadt and Stalingrad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they will.
That was easy.
It's a yes or no question. Yeah.
Perfect. Oracle 2 is asking, are there plans to add overmatch to tier 8 to tier 10 battleships, just like how tier 3 to tier 7 can overmatch each other?
Can you repeat the question?
So he's asking about like overmatching
Yeah.
mechanics. So whether we are planning to introduce it for tier 8 to tier 10 battleships, just like tier 3 to tier 7 can overmatch each other.
So
like to introduce it for more ships than just, for example, the Yamato.
No, we don't have such plans.
Okay.
No! Holy, did you see that?
I mean, you were like...
I was attacking a cluster of tier 10 ships. I shouldn't have, but did you see that black cloud of death? Wow.
Voodoo Popeye is asking, if there are unlimited planes, shouldn't the EA consumable be unlimited, like the damage control party?
Good question.
No, actually...
No.
Get out!
Bad question. Go away.
I mean, the defensive AA consumable is very powerful, and making it unlimited will be very brutal to the late game of the players, of the CVs. And yes, while technically the CVs have unlimited planes, they suffer losses, and a lot of them. And most of the time, by the end of the battle, you don't have like full squadrons. But at the same time, ships don't lose as much of AA power as they did before 8.0. So basically, by the end of the match, they are like, in terms of just raw AA values, they are like even somewhat stronger than the power level of the CV players. So buffing it even more with the defensive AA would be too much.
Okay, thank you.
So I mean, basically the question was, I think, about the late game effectiveness of the AA, and to just mitigate it, we buffed the HP of AA mounts, so that by the end of the battle you lose not as much.
So basically, you just have to be a bit smart about when you use your defensive AA consumables.
Yes.
But overall, your AA mounts survive longer because we buff the HP pool to actually counter that a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's a bit of a weird question, but maybe I don't really know how to answer this. But we'll just ask it anyway. Xiao Yao Song is asking, who thinks it is a good idea to put all your premium CVs at tier 8? If Kaga and Saipan had to be moved, wouldn't it make more sense to move them to tier 6 instead of all premiums to tier 8? I don't know, do you have any comment about why we moved them rather up than down?
I mean, for Saipan, we wanted to like use the tier 10 planes on it, and because it was like originally with tier 9s, which is like close to new tier 10 and stuff, and that's why. And with the Kaga, on tier 6, her unique idea was the hangar capacity, and on tier 6 it would be a bit too much, because like to get her balanced, she would use like tier 4, tier 5 planes, and we didn't want to do that. Instead, that's why we moved her to tier 8 to make her like hangar, almost endless hangar, really a definitive feature on tier 8.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Frank Richmond is asking on Facebook, why do CVs have unlimited planes compared to before?
Basically, the idea was that being without planes on a CV is very painful, as to like your capability to affect the battle is like almost zero. Yeah, and that's why we decided to do this mechanic of restoring planes.
Okay, Jacques1 is asking, do you think that 32mm armor is an issue for battleships that don't have 32mm armor is an issue for battleships that don't have super heal? For example, Izumo, Alsace, and the Republique.
I think I'm sure for Alsace and Republique that they are in a very good spot right now, even without the super heal, because of their guns, their maneuverability overall, and their good protection of the citadel. As for the Izuma, we've buffed it in the last patch, and
Again.
and we hope that this will be enough.
Well, I'll give 1 or 2 more, and I'll consider buying it.
To be honest, I wanted to try it as soon as I saw Sigma 2.0. It's like, now you have my attention.
Yeah.
Edward is asking, does IFHE work on aircrafts?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh.
There you get your answer. No IFHE for you. I mean, we kind of had this question, but it's a tricky one. I'll just ask it. Pico Zoicum is asking, how about removing team spotting from strike planes? But he has a suggestion how to fix this and add a fourth type of plane, scouting planes.
So that they'll just scout.
Yes.
So like you do nothing, you just fly around.
Basically, his attack planes would only spot the ships for him, not for the team. But the scouting planes would only do scouting. He says there could be only one per squad and have a special kind of attack.
What? It sounds a bit like complicated.
Okay, so a little bit complicated, but thank you for the suggestion.
But can I just point out, I mean, not the world's best game, but I was a tier 8 carrier in a tier 10 match versus tier 10 ships. I did alright. I mean, didn't do the world's best damage, but I think I disrupted and annoyed the enemy team enough. I got a respectable amount of base XP. This is okay.
You finished above the midway.
What?
Can you fit? Yeah, you were above the midway.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. Okay. So, something we changed about CVs. Is there any plans to make CV consumables on use again? The AI is just wasting charges at bad times. Why can't it be in players' hands?
We made it so even if it's not maybe the best possible decision that the AI made, so it doesn't hurt player much, and it comes down to the timings of the work time of the consumables. Like, say the fighters work for 10 minutes on the aircraft carrier, and the damage control party works for 1 minute, which is like a lot. So no, we don't.
Yeah, so no plans to change it for now.
Yeah.
Matt is asking, Matt Chris on Twitch, is how are we feeling about the Midway's performance? It's well, he's taking his stats from a public page. He says it currently has a 47% win rate and only 70k average damage.
What do you have the?
I mean,
can you do the thing?
Yeah, it's I did the thing, and it's
Oh, you
better than the
did?
Hakuru.
Yes.
Yes, right now.
So-
it is.
Yeah,
But like, I mean, it's shifting from one day to another a bit, and it's shifting meta right now. But overall, from what I see, the Midway right now, it's even if it has problems, it's not on that scale of like 43%, let's say.
Okay, so as usual, guys, we will look into it. Like we it's not like we open our laptops and it's the 1st of February. We go check the stats, say, oh, looks good, close the laptop, and wait until November to check it again.
Wait, it isn't.
No, we wait till December, exactly. No, but obviously we're monitoring this day by day. I think Ivan is probably spending way too much time in front of the screen checking stats and cool numbers to figure out how ships are performing. And this is why we do balance changes on a lot of different ships. If you take a look at the ships that we've been buffing, for example, old premium ships, we had a huge variety of ships that are currently in testing, like the Sims and the Hood and so on. With balance changes, we always take a look at stats, and if we see the need to help a ship, we will do it. And if the Midway is a ship that would need help, we will do it. But give us some time for things to balance out a bit, especially for something as specific as a ship-specific buff.
Actually, like let's throw like a little curveball in there. What is the most surprising stat you've come across? Where you've opened up a statistics tool, and you've gone like, what? What's like surprised you the most?
Amount of planes that Sims is shooting down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's just mind blowing. I mean, it's really a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, one of the sets that I looked after the release of 8.0, and I was like, whoa.
He's too close to the island.
Sims strong.
Did you see that? I made him turn into those torps.
Yeah. It's in
Visual Treats has an interesting question. Were developers, or you, I guess it's the better question, were you surprised at how the player base reacted so far, or is it as you suspected it would be?
For the most part, I think it's what we expected. It's a big change, a really big change, and we understand that some players don't like it, and they want the old world back, and that's perfectly fine, and we understand that. So I guess, and some players were really happy, and there were a lot of players, and they play CVs and they like it. So I guess overall, we expect that, but I think maybe the amount of feedback we got is well, I mean, it's a lot. We really have a lot of feedback from you, and that was, for me personally, maybe a bit unexpected.
But it's good, guys. A
Yeah,
lot
of
of
course.
feedback helps us a lot making the right decisions. So please share your feedback.
Yeah, that's what about the stats. It's not about the stats basically, but that surprised me. Like Luke said, it was the amount of like data and feelings and the feedback, right? What we got when we released the patch. I mean, not even one test that we made public, or even before the public test that we made the CV testing. None of that gave us that amount of data, but not in terms of only statistics as well, but in terms of like how you feel, what's the problems, and what we need to solve to do, and that stuff. So I mean, maybe that was really surprising, like how much of the ideas that players come around and they talk to us and they talk to themselves. And
Okay. Eric Jorgensen on YouTube is asking, can we have the ability to choose how many planes in the squadron take off? And also prioritize what squadron type reloads faster?
not in the near future, I think.
Okay. And are there any indications that low tier DDs are too vulnerable to rocket planes?
I think on the lower tier DDs it's easier for them to maneuver out of the rocket strike, because the rectangle and the amount of rockets is less, so maneuvering helps more than, say, on higher tier DDs.
Okay. So for now, not really, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Yes, of course.
It's more an UI question, but Frank Scheele on YouTube is asking, can you make a different signs for the CV or the planes being spotted? Not really your department, right?
No, but it is already there. The icon on the right is for the plane spotting, but icon on the left is for the CV spotting.
There you go, guys.
So maybe you can just like get in the middle of the map and show the guys.
For science.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I'll take that into under advisement.
Okay. So, Andreas, we already answered your question about the CV fighters being more interactive. Not for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
Who knows about the midterm or long-term future? But right now, not part of the plans.
It's a bad time to use
Let's hope. Ragnitalk is asking, since the last hotfix lowered tier 7 and below's AA so much, when is the next hotfix coming to this? He says the Atlanta ended up with 500 DPS on long range with 8 times double 127 millimeter compared to the kit with 5 times 127 millimeters, which has 1600. So basically, are we planning to change tier 7 AA? Buff it a bit?
It was changed like in the hotfix number 2. So we adjusted the curve of the flag explosions between tiers. So I mean,
so we'll check how this works out, and if we see there's a need to adjust it even further, we'll do it. Oh, interesting question from Xeronin for Twitch. Are you considering dividing up the AA reinforcement sectors even further?
Nope. I think 2 sectors is, for now at least, it's more than enough.
I'm out of planes. I'm blaming you. And for those who say, you know, like CVs have infinite planes, and take my example here as an example, right? I might have infinite planes and they might recharge, but they recharge slowly. So I'm already launching with an incomplete squadron because I lost planes. So you have to be careful with your planes, otherwise you are going to be fighting at considerably less than full combat capacity very quickly.
Pavel on Facebook has a question: why is there no consistency anymore in AA mount damage? For example, the same 25mm gun in SAO has 3 times the aura damage on Nagato, twice the damage than on a Yamato.
There is consistency on the same tier, so we adjust the base values that we get, looking at what tier this mount is on. So by that we try to adjust to the like plane HP increase and the squadron numbers increasing.
ABC Smurth is asking a question: when will we introduce only 1 CV per team?
I think that we will do it when the amount of players playing CVs will allow us.
Exactly. So it depends a bit on matchmaking, but we're waiting for the first hype to die down a bit. Sith Lord BG is asking, can you please change in smoke ships AA? If planes can see them, they should not see the planes. Reducing AA precision and range for ships in smoke.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So he's basically saying that since a ship in smoke, the CV can see the ship, so it's hard for it to hit the ship. But the AA is still working. It's working as normally. So he's asking whether it's possible to reduce the maybe AA precision or the range of the AA for ships that are sitting in smoke.
But the AA works only if someone else is spotting the plane. So I mean, for now there are no such plans, I think.
Okay. Oh, that's a good question from Sir Perk. You reworked CV mechanics, and then you're changing the flooding and radar mechanics. What is the final goal of all of these modifications?
Well,
what is your evil master plan,
Ivan? It's not like I mean, the all changes, they are based on like on different goals. Like the need for the severe work was known for some time. It was a lot. It was decided a lot earlier than the flooding changes or the radar changes. So, but overall, our master plan is to make the gameplay better, and with CVs, it's to freshen up the game.
Yeah, I mean the CV rework has been in the works for ages. I mean, can't give you an exact time, but I think 2 years is a good time frame when we're trying around with CV reworks. And now that it's happening, I mean, something like the flooding and radar mechanic changes, the radar mechanics, for example. As a community manager, I can tell you that radar is one of the big topics that we read about so often. So unrelated to a CV rework, which is obviously having some impact on it, but we were looking into ways of how we can improve radar and make it more, let's say, comfortable for DDs to play without breaking it completely. So that's the kind of intention. And with flooding, I mean, the changes we're making to flooding is because flooding is very different, for example, how fire works, right?
Yes, of course. The flooding changes are because the flooding mechanics right now is a bit one-sided, in the sense that most players, and it's a perfectly reasonable reaction, if you see flooding, you just press the button to damage control party, and you don't have and unless you don't have a damage control party, then you're okay. And if if you don't have it, you're basically just suffering for a lot of time.
I believe the technical term you're looking for is shit out of luck.
Yes.
Yeah. ABC Smurf is asking on YouTube, are there any plans about a zoom mechanic when using planes, able to be ordered to look closer at the target?
Not for now, I think. Because there's not much of a need in it, I think. But we're not disregarding the idea.
Okay, and then I have a question about the mighty Kurfürst. What are your thoughts about the current state of the Kurfürst? Maybe okay stats-wise, but it's barely used. But it's barely
As
used
the name
in clan
says.
battles. Are there any plans on tweaking that ship?
It's German. It needs to have double the armor. And
double the guns?
And I think, right, we need to revisit this idea, this silly notion that only Yamato can have 460mm plus guns, because clearly German engineering would have built something better had they had the time.
No, but I mean...
currently, the Kurfürst performs... well, I mean, all tier 10 battleships right now are very closely... No,
they're very balanced.
Yeah, they're very balanced.
To each
Yeah.
other,
Yeah. They have different roles, but they're balanced to each other in terms of random battles and like clan battles. Well, I mean, sometimes you have ships that not as good in clan battles as the other. Like, for example, not the Kurfürst, but like the Conqueror. It's not very good in clan battles. We have to be honest. But in random battles, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, you have to keep in mind, guys, that something like a competitive mode, like clan battles, teams are looking for very specific things they want to achieve. What kind of ship is the best one to achieve it? Because it's a lot about min-maxing what your team is supposed to do. Yeah. So there will always be ships that are better at achieving that goal because they, for example, offer certain tools or a certain aspect that you need for your team to be successful in winning the battle. While the ship might still be good, like the Kurfürst, probably not the best ship that you want to bring for a clan battle. But then again, it works absolutely fine in random battles. And maybe in other modes, the Kurfürst is going to be better than, I don't know, for example, a Montana or a Yamato, and better to bring there. That's the kind of variety it's good to have in the game, that you cannot just say every ship is just the same. Like any battleship is just performs in the same way, has the same tools, has everything in the same way, so it doesn't really make a difference which one you bring to a clan battle. I think there's a really good thing about World Warships having that variety, and you have to think about what kind of setup you want to bring, what kind of ships you want to go for, what kind of skills you want to take on your ships, what modules, and have that that this actually has an impact on how you play your clan battles and your chance of winning it as a team. What else do we have? Orla the Beast is asking, how do you consider the Leone now after the buff? Has it reached its final state?
This isn't even my final state.
Yeah, it's still a metamorphosis.
I mean, it's still in testing for now. But, I mean, if I remember correctly, it's in a fine state right now. It's somewhat difficult and unusual, but it's interesting to play.
Not good, not good. Minotaur, run away, run away, run away, run away faster.
Atzik on YouTube has a question, and he's asking, do you still get enough data from the test server, or are there thoughts to make it more attractive for the players?
Oh, what test server?
He means just public test server. Is it? Do we get enough data from the PTS session to make our decisions, or are we looking into making it more attractive so that the population of the test server would be higher?
I mean, mostly when it comes to the public test server, the problem is not the population, but what the people do on the test server. They don't play like they play on the live server. They do different stuff. They, I don't know, try new things and see how they like it or something else. That's so we have enough data for like the amount of useful data that we get from the public test server is limited, not due to the popularity of the server, but due to the psychology of the players, basically. So I think we are not really need to increase the popularity as right now. We are very grateful for you that you play the games, and it's as much as we can hope for.
Cool. Also, greetings from Mr. Evan, and he says, Mr. Conway, this is for you and me. This isn't even Conway's final state. He fuses with Chrysanthus for the final form. Wow. Wow, I don't even know what to say about this. I'll just leave it without a comment. Yeah, but guys, in general, the CV work is probably a very good example for this. How player behavior is different on a public test server compared to a real server. That we can only do so much testing on a public test server for something as big as the CV rework, but getting the actual behavior, how you play in your average battle, that's something we kind of need from live testing. It's also why we test ships, for example, on the live server, so they are not in such an artificial environment.
I remember we used to not do that. And it was a really good decision that we moved over to live testing.
Yes. And in general, guys, if you have some spare time and you want to see what's coming next in World of Warships, go check out the public test server. First of all, you get to see hands-on what's coming next. You give us the chance to get some additional data to make these changes. And you also get some rewards on your live server account. So if you haven't tried it yet, go give it a try. You can also test some ships that you might not have in your port, like some tech tree ships that you didn't get to grind yet and you want to get an impression of how they work. Public test server is a really cool environment for this.
Yeah, this is a good example of a good target for a CV at the moment. There's a battleship who hasn't paid attention to the minimap and who is therefore going to pay.
Maximiliano Tablado Rodriguez, beautiful name on Facebook, is asking the repair party consumable could have a faster reload due to the fact that there are so many floodings and fire sources. Do you think we need to change the reload time?
I mean, with the flooding changes, right? No, I don't think, because the amount of damage that one flooding is dealing is like right now it's a lot less. So you can manage it both with the damage control party and repair party to achieve like your maximum effectiveness, let's say.
Okay, and if we have time for a final battle, which I don't think we have, but Mr. Convoy, people would love to see you play on tier 6 or lower tiers to show your CV skills. And Faraselath, hey Faraselath, I can see you in chat, so hi there. He's asking CV, hull, and consumable control when? And when are you going to make Graf Zeppelin great again by giving her Hydro back?
+1. Does it work that way?
Is that the only feature that Graf Zeppelin needs?
So let's maybe split it up. Do we have any plans of giving the control over the CV itself back to the player?
Not right now.
Not right. Okay. And the consumable question we already answered earlier. Also not right now. So Hydro for the Graf Zeppelin, is it something you're thinking about?
With the no, that's not the thing we're thinking about right now, because we want the players on the CVs to focus on the planes, how they behave, and not the ship itself.
Okay.
Did you guys see that long-range strike?
And there's a question that I will answer from Everex. Why don't you ask players like Flammo and Flambers how to balance ships and the game? So the thing is, we do. We have a full Discord of contributors with over 150 contributors who are getting early access to ships, to changes to the game in general, and they provide us with their feedback. And we talk to them on a daily basis. And our devs are in direct contact with the CCs to talk about these issues. And you can be sure that their voices are heard. It's not like we say, oh, you know, we have this glorious contributor program, and we give them all of these things, and then we completely disregard what they're saying. We basically put them in like a basement and not listen to them. CCs are a source of feedback just as you guys are when it comes to your opinions that you post on forums, social media, Discords, wherever you do it and where we can see it. They all play into the way we make decisions, but we have different sources of feedback. We have stats, we have you guys, we have CCs and so on, and all of that plays into it. So yes, we do listen, but it's not like one person has the final answer to all of the questions. It's a mix of things, and then we're trying to do the best possible decision. What else? Okay, a question that I think I will just enter it. Incesticide BB, can you allow us to set the queue with or without CVs, even as a premium feature? I will consider keep buying premium time if this is implemented. So, you know what? I know where this is coming from, and it sounds like such a nice idea for you, right?
I'm sure it would be super popular.
Super popular. So CVs can play with CVs, and DDs can play with DDs, and battleships get to wreck everything else, right? No, that's not how we want the game to work. I mean, we have 4 classes, and we want these 4 classes to interact with each other, to damage each other, to fight against each other, and that's why we also wanted to make CVs more popular, that more players are playing this class to see more of it in the game. If you wanted to exclude a class, the whole balancing would fall apart, because AA, for example, is a certain aspect of a ship. If a ship has a really low AA rating, it would be very strong in a mode that has like no CVs in general.
Looks like I'm going to pay with my squadron.
And no,
of course I am.
Yeah.
And I'm dead.
Yeah, so I understand where it's coming from, but it's sorry, but no. But we're very happy if you buy premium time anyway, so we can keep developing the game. So be nice, go push that button. Already had this question. Oh, well, that's a popular question. Grungy1965 is asking, have you ever considered radar jammers for a limited time consumable for DDs?
Yes, we've considered it, but in our opinion, it will add a lot of complexity to the interaction between DDs and the radar ships, and that's why we basically made the radar changes, so that we like don't have to introduce another consumable.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I think that's the full answer to this. Graf Zeppelin Kai is asking, why do you balance with a hammer rather than fine-tuning things? Are you using the Nerf bat?
Do you have a Nerf bat? Would you like players to send you one?
yeah, if they think of a good one, I'm supposed to.
Okay. You just opened the box of Pandora. So players, you heard it. You heard it here, and I will just emphasize this. So Sir Nelson, here, our god of balancing, what he's missing and would really like to have is a proper Nerf bat that he can swing, maybe near his desk without hitting the ships that you like. So go send him a Nerf bat, a proper one.
We need to make a deal though. If players are going to send you a Nerf bat, you need to commit to one change on stream.
I don't think that's a good idea.
You don't?
Yeah,
well, we can have a discussion on which change to do.
We
now.
will discuss this over a beer.
It can be some. No.
Oh, we want to have it on stream.
No. Twitch chat needs to get involved in this, right?
Yeah,
So we need to make a tweak, right? Twitch chat, make some suggestions. We're talking about one tweak, right? A minor tweak, and he hasn't said yes yet. So he has to agree to this, right? So otherwise the deal is obviously off, and it will only happen if the Nerf bat is actually sent.
The Nerf bat has to be like a good Nerf bat.
Yeah, so this is a challenge, guys. I want to see it, and I'm sure we will have pictures. So and you can find out the address of the St. Petersburg office. Just address it to Sir Nelson, and we'll see what gets there. Now I'm curious. I would like one too. But to get back to the question, so how do you decide to go for a certain step? I think the Yu-Yang. Let's take the Yu-Yang as an example.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the changes that were considered as a very, very heavy one. Yeah. It's very nice.
Basically, with the Yu-Yang, it was the idea of we didn't want to lose the unique flavor of the ships. In its deep water torps or smokes or radar, but at the same time it was overperforming for all its lifetime up at that point, and I decided that by keeping its unique capabilities, again, the smokes, torps, that are actually just they're very good at dealing damage. The deep water torps that Yu-Yang has, and that's why I decided to nerf the amount of damage, basically, that it can put out in a minute, DPS on guns and the torpedo reload. It was overperforming by much in randoms and as well as in clan battles. That's why the nerf was needed, and that's why it was such a strong nerf.
Okay.
Because basically the what his abilities gave to him was so much that that such a strong nerf was required to make it a balanced ship.
Okay, thank you. I hope that
but we make a lot of smaller changes, you can see in the past 8.0 buffs, or even before that nerfs. They were not that strong as a Yu-Yang. It was an extreme example of the change to a ship.
Okay, thank you. This is something you answered a bit earlier, but since we have way more viewers now, maybe it's good to reiterate on this. Cosmo34 is asking, when looking at the stats, do you also look at how bad do the worst XX% of players do, and how well do the best YY% of players do? Because he thinks that would be very important to estimate the skill gap, and if it is still
Yes,
so high,
yes,
right?
of course. We look at the skill curve of some ships, and as I said earlier, we look at what players are playing it, and it's like, and it of course gives some average stats increase or decrease for some ships, as well as within the player base of the ship, we look at how different players perform on it, and yes, of course, we analyze that.
Cool. And then we have a question from YouTube. Terras is asking, what is the dev's current take on the time until reaching immunity altitude for planes after drop? Currently, a lot of planes get shot down before getting to safety.
It's not the time, it is
No
the
way.
height. I mean, they have to reach a certain height to be immune. I mean, I think I can answer the question, but I'm not sure that would give a lot of information to players.
Yeah, but I mean, to rephrase it, do you think that right now basically the height, so the time it takes for planes to get to that height, is in a good place? That the amount of planes that are shot down while basically getting to safety is okay, or does it need to be like less or more? Or
When we're talking about the use of the F key, like to return the players, the planes back to the air carrier, then I think that the value is fine. Although we're looking at how it is working with the attack squadron that's returning after the attack itself, and we might change that, but not right now.
Okay, thank you. Here's a question from Tony S. The double answer from YouTube. Have you thought about increasing the number of players in division? No, because a 3-man division is already strong enough.
Yeah.
And adding another player would just give that division even more power. So no, if you want to play with more people in division, go play clan battles or go play operations. Have some fun with more guys, but for random battles it would simply be too strong. Okay, so we're looking at the final strike. Mr.
So you won.
Mr.
I did
CB Wade.
indeed win. I did indeed.
Okay, I think I'll pick one last question, and then we'll be done with this. That's a very technical question. I cannot answer. Any information on the economy of shooting down aircraft? Right now, it appears that as if shooting down planes doesn't get rewarded with XP and credits.
It does.
And it was in the publication. I'm pretty sure that we included.
And it always used to, and it still does.
Yeah. I think we changed the values to accommodate the difference in basically amount of planes that are needed.
Yeah.
So basically the values are changed. I cannot give you the exact ones because I don't remember 100%, but it's definitely one of the publications, so please go back and read it. But there's definitely XP and credit value attached to this. So yeah, I think that's it when it comes to the questions. 2 hours, over 2 hours of questions.
Yeah, that's
we managed to get Sir Nelson completely drained out of energy. We'll have to refill him with, I would call it check water later to make sure that he enjoys his time here. No, guys, thank you very much. We answered, I think, over 80 questions.
wow.
So there was a lot, and we hope you have a better insight into how we do things and how balancing is working. And I'm sure that were a lot more questions that you guys wanted to answer, but we only have a limited amount of time here. But hopefully we can convince Mr. Nelson to come back for another session of this. You're still alive.
yeah.
No pitchforks and torches standing here in front of the room, so we should be fine. So I hope we'll see you again. And with this, I'll just say goodbye from my side. And thank you very much, guys. It was a fun stream.
Yeah, thank you from my side as well. I had fun playing some CVs for you. I'm honestly enjoying it. Definitely still have room for improvement, but we are definitely, I think, making good progress with CV balancing. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
I hope it wasn't too rough.
No, I guess it was as expected.
Yeah, like we know, guys, that emotions are hot right now. Some people really love the update. Some people really hate the update. Some people, are just still playing World of Warships. But we are going to keep working on tweaks and improvements and balances. Please do consider heading out to the public test server and having a look at the upcoming changes to radar and flooding. It helps us to get your perspective. Point out bugs that you find, and point out things that you think we could do better or that we've nailed. Good feedback is also very helpful to us if somebody comes and says, hey, that's a good feature. Yeah, so any closing words from your side?
I want to thank your players for these questions. It was actually nice to answer them. Thank you, guys. It was fun.
Okay, and with that, we are probably going to call it a day here. It is quite late and it's getting exceedingly warm in this room. But we have a little tradition, and those of you who come here regularly already know this. We are going to go raid someone on Twitch. So if you're on YouTube and Facebook, thank you very much for watching. Have a great night. For those of you on Twitch, we're going to find someone. We're going to pick someone. I'm going to pick someone right now, and we're going to go chat bomb them. Who are we going to? Should we? How about? What do you think?
No. Who else do we
How
have?
about? I think I have actually someone. So this is someone who hasn't been streaming for like terribly long, but he does have a very good stream. He's very entertaining. He's very British. How can we trigger someone who's British?
I mean, you could say something about the Queen or the tea.
Oh, okay.
Or the great empire that they used to have.
Don't be evil, guys. Don't talk
No,
about
no,
Brexit. It's a don't be that guy.
How about we go hashtag Brentry? Okay, guys.
Okay.
Hashtag BR entry, right? So when you hit his chat, we're going to go raid Mr. Gibbons. Please hashtag Brentry, and we'll see if we can't de-Brexit him. Thank you very much for watching. We've had a great time, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.